I don't know what's going on, but you have a haven't done anything to that camera, and it all of a sudden apparently it stopped recording after 20 minutes in the last video, and the audio recorder all of a sudden just crapped out for no reason at all too. Weird. All seems fairly normal so far. Whatever, we'll keep going. If the camera did chop off some of those last people's emails to us, then I'll have to carry it on later on from inside, and I'll just throw down the audio part of it with, I don't know, some kind of B-roll backdrop. All right. Now, what do we got here? Titled Military Chase in Angolan Swamp and Sasquatch? Question mark. Hi there, Steve. I sent you the story before, just not as detailed. I don't know if this qualifies as one of your stories, but feel free to read it and tell it if it passes your filter. I do start this off by thanking you for this forum and creating what you have mentioned as the round table of knowledge. I've watched your videos for the last 2 months, and you have managed to create a bond with me that I would never have believed possible in meeting someone over a few times, let alone through a medium like this. I became aware of you and your channel through David Pilatus' site. My name is George. Jorge, being of Portuguese parents. I stand by the warrior's ethos. Never leave anyone behind. I feel this is exactly what your work and David's work covers. By relaying these stories / real life events, you're both effectively bringing the light of all those who are no longer under it, enlightenment / in search of the truth. I admire, value, and respect that. I can only speak for myself, but I feel you empower the listener not only to identify with experiences you share while reading, but also due to the fact that you are there, in the very terrain where all these events have occurred and are still occurring. You certainly have a pair of big ones. Thanks, man. Or maybe I just got a pair of dumb ones. Time will tell, right? Maybe I'll disappear one day. Whatever. I'm originally from South Africa, born, bred, and educated there. Having done my military service there and part of the Special Forces, Angola, Botswana, and Mozambique. This during the South African Border War. I studied analytical chemistry and later went into medical school, where during my student days I was able to earn an extra income as a hiking guide along the Skeleton Coast through the Cape Province and along the coast right up to St. Lucia, bordering Mozambique. My hunting skills, knowledge of the African bush were gained through my father from 6 years of age, and the several elders of groups of tribes dotted across the African coast / continent, especially the Shona peoples, bracket Zulu, Xhosa, Kalanga, Venda, and Kunda people. Incidentally, we would reload our own ammunition. For practice. When out on a hunt, we would use brand new ammo. Listening to your stories and professional advice, I cannot help but identify with so many of the things that you and your followers have shared in their experiences. Although I cannot claim to have ever definitely seen one of these massive beings, I can definitely associate many of my experiences with them and similar strange beings. The event that follows comprises of 1,816 words, 19 paragraphs. This incident happened a few weeks towards the end of the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, South African Border War, in Angola. While chasing a group of 21 terrorists for 3 days, tracking spoor tracks, doing this in groups of 3 in 2 V formations in order to keep track of the spoor. They would be covering their tracks as they moved away from us. It was on the second day that I noticed that something was off about this chase. While setting up a TB, temporary base, in the middle of a swamp, morass / IXHAPHOZI, bringing the 3rd Armored Vehicles, 1 Casper and 2 Rattels, into a defensive structure where we typically bring the vehicles into a corral-type shape, circular / diamond. We were 2 squads, so 50 soldiers, of which 10 of us were Special Forces and 13 were highly skilled and respected tribespeople / trackers. What made this chase different is that both the weather and the terrain became impossible to traverse. A massive storm erupted all around us with such a ferocity that we had to stop. While on a spoor, we never stopped. Then, as quickly as it had started, it stopped, but not before a grueling 3-hour downpour. We waited in the vehicles. The downpour literally kept us shut down. Night came in and the downpour changed to a drizzle that would come and go. We started to set our traps and we started to set up our tarps and started settling in for the evening ahead. It was towards 0100 where I noticed that 5 of our trackers were edgy and going on about something. Although I could see something was amiss, I respected their space and presumed that if the matter had anything to do with our chase, that they would raise the issue. Nothing came of this, and I thought nothing much of this until about an hour later while on guard duty. One of them came and sat next to me. I was manning one of the 5 50 caliber machine guns, and while we both stared through our night vision glasses, he seemed to be looking for something specific out there. He seemed to be on a mission to finding something. Initially, I thought it had something to do with our chase out there. I ventured in to ask him if everything was okay with him. He put down his glasses and asked me if I noticed anything strange about our situation out there. This immediately put me on the spot. My capacity and my knowledge were being questioned. I paused for a bit, looked out into the darkness, and searched deeper into what I was missing. And then it dawned on me. Yes, there is a big issue here. The complete silence surrounding us. The only sounds to be heard distinctly were the sounds we were making, and even then it all sounded muffled. I looked at him and asked, "The silence?" He nodded and pointed towards the northern side of our TB perimeter. I picked up my night vision glasses and looked hard in that direction. There was nothing. Profiles and shadows of terrain, but nothing else. I decided this was a matter to investigate further, so I asked him to get me the thermals, and while he did this, I communicated with my radio OP to set up Doppler and microwave on our perimeter. He looked up at me and almost asked me why, but moved into action and promptly reported that both we were now active. Almost at the same time, a stench so strong enveloped us. Even some of the heavy sleepers were waking up and complaining about how someone could be taking a dump in our living area. The smell that seemed to bring a taste into your mouth was really intense. This basically brought the entire troop on alert. None of us quite knew where the smell was coming from. There was no breeze. It's as if the smell was inside our immediate area. At about the same time, while looking through the thermals, I started to see these lights in the distance. They seemed close, 5 or 6 meters away, and they seemed further away, about 30 to 50 meters away. Confusing. No sound associated to what I thought were flying objects of the sorts. These lights, yellowish to white, were showing up only through the night vision glasses, the size of tennis balls / basketballs. The thermals were not registering anything. Something was very wrong with this. I asked my radio OP to ID the activity, and both microwave and Doppler, and both were picking up the movement, but he could not pinpoint them. Their movement was erratic, and it seemed like these objects were solid, but then they were not. The swamp we were in had tall vegetation, about 1.5 meters high. Our vehicle stood higher from our perched positions. We must have been a good 2.5 meters from solid ground. These lights / orbs were about 2 meters off the ground, just skimming off the edge of the tall vegetation. By this point, everyone was on full alert, and it was at this time where the tracker that sat beside me nodded his head and said quietly, "I think we may not leave this place peacefully. This is going to be a very long night." I was surprised at his words. I promptly asked him what he was going on about. He would not look me in the eyes. He just kept saying we were under their observation. They were watching us. He was not sure if we should remain here or just simply start moving out. This is totally not an option. I was surprised. This coming from a Zulu. These people are considered to be the most fierce and brave of all the tribes in Africa. The light / orbs kept appearing and disappearing. I arrived at the conclusion that these lights could not have been from a human source. No sound or translucent. Our Doppler and microwave systems could not detect anything within a 250 meter radius from us. Yet we all felt as if we were being observed, up close, within the perimeter. Everyone felt the hair on the entire body go like hard wire. There was imminent danger, yet we could see nothing, even though every sense in our bodies were saying otherwise. We were all trained and seasoned soldiers. Death and danger were no new experience to us, yet we all felt this. At the time, nobody showed or spoke of it. I guess we were all second-guessing our instincts. The stench lingered for about 2 hours into the night, and those lights, only being picked up by our night vision glasses, kept circling our position and would occasionally shoot up vertically and disappear, only to then reappear in another location directly opposite where they'd been before. We were armed to the teeth, yet we all felt this intense fear-like feeling. The tractor mentioned something about swamp creatures that were thought to have been responsible for many disappearances in the region. I distinctly remember answering what they would do, well, not to come anywhere near us, for we would blow them away into the next world. He just looked to me as if I were mad. Thinking back now, I guess I must have sounded like a real twat. As the morning light started to pierce the darkness, the silence seemed to disappear. We could hear the swamp life coming back into earshot. We started to load up and carry on our chase in a northerly direction. About 30 minutes later, we were back on dry land and continuing our pursuit. It seems the storm did not affect the outskirts of the swamp area. It was as if the storm had come out just for us. Amongst us, we never really discussed this, but I think we're all thinking it. A storm that big and only hitting this area of the swamp? The other strange thing that happened was of the original 21 insurgents. We're now only following 3 sets of spoor. Wow. We only caught up with 3 individuals. 3 very terrified individuals who practically threw themselves onto us after having been chased for days, further adding to the madness we're already experiencing. They were going on about how they were attacked by something in that swamp. Their comrades had disappeared. None of them heard or saw anything, just gone. This ruled out crocodiles and hippos, etc. There was no sound of anything. I, for one, believed them. Their facial expressions were wild. Their eyes hardly blinked as they gesticulated. And this was clearly not the opium talking. Typically, insurgents while on the run take opium to numb their senses so they could outrun us and escape. These guys did not have any opium in their systems, but they were scared. At the time, this is one of those occasions you remember as being weird and strange, but for some reason I did not think much more of it thereafter. Perhaps we were in a war environment, and everything around us was not quite so normal either. I'm not sure. Not that I'm any the wiser, but listening to your stories, I certainly started thinking back to my own encounters, realizing that in many circumstances, the penny has now dropped. Talking about war as strange supernatural occurrences is not easy, especially when you try to convey this to someone who has not shared the same event or similar emotional turmoil. I think this is, for many, the main reason for not saying anything to anyone. The mock expression or the empty look we get is just frustrating and at times upsetting. As an operator, I can talk to my brother-in-arms and there is total respect. We don't second guess or put into question a brother's experience, what he saw/encountered. We share the pain, we share the glory, we share everything so we can move on with our lives. This was the most challenging aspect of reintegrating back into civilian life. You lose that bond, you lose the purpose behind the mission. Once again, thank you for creating this round table of knowledge. Fear can only exist in that we do not know or possess the knowledge of. Once we know something, we can understand it. Then fear will gradually disappear. Sharing our experiences with others who have been through similar experiences lightens that burden and scorn projected onto us by those that remain fearful and ignorant. To end this letter, please accept my heartfelt condolences. May your sorrow lighten with each passing day, and may your memories of Mr. Macaroni comfort you. As a friend of mine once said, a dog may be man's best friend, but the horse wrote history. You both certainly did do that. Regards, George. I don't know how much I can't see. One thing that frustrates me is I just can't seem to get across. I don't feel I get across just how much I appreciate these submissions to the people, to the round table of knowledge. I appreciate it so much. I just wish I could shake everybody's hand in person and thank them directly and look them in the eyes and grip their hand and shake it, right? That possibly helps place another piece of my puzzle together. And without a doubt, probably numerous other people too, right? What an experience, George. What a freaking crazy experience. And just as you were starting to mention going for the thermals, my brain was already wondering why the military, why you guys don't just use thermals. Because I've used both. I've used thermals and infrared, and I'm definitely a fan of the thermals. It seems to me that nothing hides from that thermal. Whereas sometimes the infrared is like, it can be patchy, shadows and green in the loft, but that's quite the frickin' experience, and thank you so much for all those details. Those details are huge, for me anyway, to take in and take note of. And the smell, I haven't said it out loud, but what I've been thinking a few times is I'm wondering if the scent, the smell, that stench is like a residue from when possibly something or some things are passing through a dimension, a paralleling dimension to us. I'm wondering if that's possibly the residue that comes when they pass through and are present in the same scene as us. I don't know. This is something to think about, chew on, right? That's quite the email. It's quite the experience. If you can, make sure you email us in the future with whatever you can, okay, pal? And help us help each other when it comes to discovering and placing new missing pieces to each of our puzzles. I think it's very, very important. Well, it's important to a lot of us. It's not important to many of us, others as well. But anyway, I think that should do for this one. And I got to get on with my day. Road trip again tomorrow, up a valley, into a river, slinging camera gear, and make sure all you keep the knowledge coming into the round table, all right, you guys? It's very, very important. And it's obvious the cat's out of the bag. I said that before in another email. The cat is officially out of the bag. So if there's other military / law enforcement, whoever, if any of you out there want to start sharing more, it's probably appropriate time to do it, right? You're all human beings just like us. We're all equal. We're all in this round ball together, and we're here for a short time. So why harbor the information? Why keep it secret from all the people? That's what I want to know. Why?